Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Marc Márquez reflected on a Montmeló race that ended his winning streak, not in anger, but with measured pride. He admitted his brother Álex was the weekend's standout, saying Álex was the only Ducati rider so far this season who has been able to beat me. Márquez called the result bittersweet, a snapped streak but a family moment he could appreciate. Pecco Bagnaia salvaged a respectable 7th after a bruising weekend at Montmeló, coming through from 21st on the grid to recover ground in a race littered with incidents. The double world champion tempered optimism with caution. The small gains seen on Sunday were welcome, but he wants to reach Misano with that same pace and a cleaner, more normal weekend program. Álex Marquez bounced back from Saturday's sprint disappointment to deliver a flawless home race victory at Montmeló. Speaking to DAZN after the race, the Gresini rider admitted the sprint mistake still stung. "I still have the spirits of yesterday," but said he used that pain as fuel and a lesson to manage the Sunday race perfectly. The Catalan GP was a tough weekend for Aprilia, but Jorge Martin still found reasons to smile. Despite starting 18th and dealing with early contact on track, the Spaniard brought home a 10th place finish at Montmeló. More important than the result, Martin emphasized, was the progress made in understanding his Aprilia. For him, it was a race of learning, rhythm, and valuable data ahead of Misano. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Marquez accepted the end of his run with equanimity. If someone had to end the streak, it had to be ended sooner or later, and pointed out that Montmeló suits Álex. The track's history and Alex's form made it a logical place for the margin to close. It happened at a track where he's always been very fast. He was the only Ducati rider who could beat me this season. The line frames the defeat as inevitability rather than failure, a champion acknowledging another rider's weekend. Marquez highlighted how Álex attacks where Marc is vulnerable, especially on long circuits and specific sectors where Marc loses time. He noted Álex set the weekend pace from FP1 and even broke the track record. "He's very fast in my weak spots. From FP1 he was the fastest on track." The contrast illustrates how two riders on similar machinery can exploit different windows of performance. Marc was candid about mixed emotions, proud of his brother yet mindful of past moments when their results clashed, pointing to her race. He suggested Alex's achievements are underappreciated because of the sibling shadow. "If Álex had another name, his season would be more appreciated. He's a hard worker and capable of anything." The comments humanized the rivalry, sibling pride wrapped in professional respect. Marquez explained his race plan: use Alex's slipstream to fend off rivals, manage front tire wear and secure a gap to third rather than launch reckless attacks. He admitted pushing at the wrong moment cost him late in the race. "I needed to use Alex's slipstream to get away from the others and then take a chance at the end." The explanation shows intelligent race management, choosing when to conserve and when to attack, and why margins can shift in the closing laps. Marquez acknowledged Alex's season-long consistency despite a hand injury and penalties earlier in the year. He argued that hard work, not pure talent alone, explains Alex's rise and that the younger Marquez has proven championship-level resilience. "He may not have extraordinary talent, but with work he's capable of anything." The appraisal reframes Álex as a competitor who combines persistence and pace, a genuine title contender when circumstances align. Marc Márquez left Montmeló with second place and a clear message: the streak ended, but the sport, and family ties, remain richer for it. His assessment of Álex as the only Ducati rider capable of beating him this season is both praise and a warning. The field is shifting, and Marquez knows the next challenge may come from within his own garage. Starting from the back, Bagnaia produced steady progress through the field and picked up positions when others faltered. He admitted the result was hard-won and that tire wear cost him late in the race, but nonetheless saw the finish as a positive step. Starting from P21, it was hard to imagine much else. I'm quite happy with 7th. When you recover 14 places, the result is less about headline pace and more about damage limitation and race management, both of which Bagnaia executed well. Bagnaia acknowledged he used a lot of tire early to climb through the order, leaving him vulnerable in the final laps. That aggressive opening earned places but drained the rear, leaving him unable to hold off late charges. I wore the tires down a lot in the first few laps. The last 5 laps were quite difficult. The trade-off was clear: early recovery or late defense. Bagnaia chose the former and paid for it in the closing stages. The rider said minor changes, notably a fuel tank tweak that improved traction, gave him slightly better grip and allowed more competitive runs than earlier in the weekend. He's cautious about overstating the gains but welcomed the step forward. We changed some details and found a bit more grip since this morning. Incremental improvements can restore feel and confidence. This weekend those details translated into concrete track position. Bagnaia singled out Fabio Quartararo as managing tire life particularly well, explaining he made up time in the early sectors but lost ground in later ones where Quartararo conserved better. Overtaking opportunities were limited by the late charge and tire drop. As soon as I caught Fabio, I saw he was managing a lot. He handled the situation better. Racecraft and tire management remain decisive. Matching rivals' conservation can be as important as raw speed. Bagnaia is pragmatic about the path ahead. He doesn't want to repeat Balaton-style gambles and prefers to arrive at Misano with comparable competitiveness from the outset. His aim is a normal weekend that starts with better Friday running and avoids Q1. I'd really like to arrive at Misano with this kind of speed, this kind of competitiveness. Turning one good Sunday into a reliable pattern across a weekend will be the true measure of progress. Bagnaia's Montmeló outing was a partial recovery, evidence that small setup changes and determined riding can arrest a slide. Yet the deeper issues, tire life, setup window and confidence, remain. If Ducati and Bagnaia can replicate Sunday's grip and manage the weekend from Friday, Misano could offer a clearer test of whether this step forward becomes a lasting return to the front. Álex acknowledged the sprint error left a thorn. That hurt. It could have been a perfect 37 points. Yet he channeled that frustration into measured, error-free riding on Sunday. He suggested the experience helped avoid repeating the same mistake. I still have the spirits of yesterday. That still hurts, because it could have been a 37. Turning immediate disappointment into learning is a hallmark of seasoned racers. Álex converted regret into a cleaner, smarter performance when it counted. The victory was built on restraint rather than raw aggression. Álex described it as a race of self-control, resisting the instinct to over-rotate the throttle and instead protecting tires and balance across the long laps. I had more, but I didn't want to destroy the tires. You have to manage it. Managing the temptation to push early preserved tire life and kept him strong to the flag, a tactical masterclass on a track that rewards patience. Álex credited both riding style and technical changes for the result. He and the team lowered the power compared to Saturday and found a package that allowed him to let the bike run through corners rather than overdriving them, a setup that suited his style and the circuit. We lowered the power a lot, and I knew the race would be slower, so I took it calmly. The win shows how small electronic and power mapping tweaks, combined with a complementary riding approach, can yield outsized race day gains. Jorge Lorenzo lauded Alex's smoothness and precision, likening the bike's stability to that of a lighter class and praising the rider's exact movements. Álex downplayed individual glory, pointing to the team effort behind the win. Your bike felt practically like a Moto3, it didn't move at all, very precise and clean. A bit of everything, a mix. Nobody takes home the medal, it's a team effort. External validation from a 5-time world champion underlines the quality of Alex's performance and the setup work behind it. Beyond a single win, Alex's triumph is the payoff from years of persistence. Lorenzo highlighted his resilience through difficult seasons. Álex reflected that the result vindicates continued belief and hard work. It's not easy, but it's worth it in the end, all the work. The victory doesn't just add a trophy to the cabinet, it signals a rider who can absorb setbacks, adapt, and capitalize when the weekend aligns. Marc Márquez's Montmeló win was part redemption, part demonstration of mature racecraft, learning from a painful sprint mistake, tuning the bike and riding with calm precision. The result pleased the paddock and silenced some doubts. But Álex's lingering thorn shows he'll keep pushing, hungry to turn lessons into lasting momentum. Martin described the result as highly positive, given his starting position and the challenges he faced. His pace, he said, was close to that of the top 5. For me, 10th is almost like a podium. Starting 18th, then contact and a shortcut, but my race pace was similar to 4th or 5th. It was my best session of the weekend, and I'm leaving with very good information. His words reflected satisfaction not with the number on the timesheet, but with the rhythm and consistency he was able to demonstrate. For Martin, the key was completing the full 24 laps to continue adapting to the Aprilia. He stressed that a crash would have been far worse than finishing mid-pack. I don't care whether I finish 10th or 8th. The important thing is to put in the laps. Crashing on lap 1 would have been a disaster because I couldn't gather data. Today I managed to maintain that 40-second pace when others couldn't, and that's good. With 7 rounds remaining, Martin is focused on mileage and adaptation rather than outright results. The Aprilia newcomer admitted that his Achilles heel is still single-lap speed. His race pace is strong, but starting so far back limits his chances. I'm clear about where I can improve. Qualifying is my weak point right now. With Aprilia I feel good in race management, but on one lap I can't get the most out of it. That's what I'll work on for Misano. Martin remains optimistic that on a higher grip track, his package will be more competitive. On the physical side, Martin reassured that he is close to full fitness, with only minor discomfort at the end of the race. Today I had no pain in my hand, back, or anywhere, just a bit in the forearm in the last laps. But nothing that would have changed my result. I feel good physically. His recovery and resilience suggest he can push harder in upcoming races. Jorge Martin left Montmeló with more optimism than frustration. A 10th place finish might not draw headlines, but for him, it was a crucial step in adapting to the Aprilia and gaining confidence. With Misano on the horizon, and a track layout offering more grip, Martin is convinced he can take another step forward, focusing on qualifying to match his promising race pace. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!